construction, that can be deadliness. We have cease-making adjustments for our behaviors. So for me, I go naturally to that dictatorial steamroller, and that's not good for the team. Some of you avoid conflict. Some of you just keep talking, and some of you get smart. You may revert to your backup style, which is what I just explained to you. You may avoid responsibilities, even get sick because of those things. Here are those backup styles under stress, your behavior under stress. Each of you have one. You actually have more. This is a highly simplified. And we can identify those things that are maybe holding you back to creating that positive influence. And I'll give you that option just a little bit later. And that later is right now. I, with a friend of mine, have put together, based on years of research, based on your height trait, behaviors that might show up. Taking on too much difficulty can intimidate others due to your intensity. That's over here. All of these may not be your problems, but some of them might be. And so you go through this and you identify all of those weaknesses based on your high and low traits. And you decide to work on one at a time. Too often we come to New Year's resolutions and we're like, I'm going to change this, I'm going to change that. It never happens. But if you can just work on one thing that can make a positive impact on your team, what would be different? That spider diagram that you saw will start pressing outwards. Greater blood flow to your organization, more productivity, more sustainability. It's what it is all about. And I'll provide this to you if you want this a little bit later. And then what do you do with that? Let's say, for example, for those of you withdrawing and becoming quiet when faced with conflict. Does anybody in this room have that as a problem for you every once in a while? And maybe that's something that you want to get over because you want to speak up, sir. So instead you find the opposite of that. What is that? Be more assertive and stand up in a way that is creating, moving forward for the organization and relationships. Right? That's what you want instead of that. Then what you do is you track that. It's a self-coaching technique. Every day you ask yourself this question: did I do my best today to stand up, to be assertive, to speak up instead of being quiet? And you rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10. If you do a crappy job, score yourself crappy. But here's the thing: do not judge yourself. Instead, be curious. Why did I struggle with it? What was going on? So you're doing two things. You're focusing on the behaviors you want to create, and you're getting curious around what's holding you back. It requires discipline, but if you have an accountability partner or a coach, it can help you a great deal, and I'll provide that for you. But every day you ask yourself, did I do my best on a scale from 1 to 10? Okay, so I'm going to give you some more strategies on how to create a positive impact. I'm going to start with 2. That was 1. Just say that's a bonus. I'll give you 2 bonuses. And 2, how do you create a positive impact? Start with self-awareness. Number 1, what triggers you? What situations cause you to go to your backup style? Know what those are. Self-awareness is absolutely key. Know what your physical manifestations are when you're stressed. What happens to your body? Can you tell that you're becoming thinking impaired? What are your behavioral tendencies? Self-awareness is absolutely key. What's your leadership style? What is your block to communication and having a positive impact? What are your motivators? Is it about control? Is it about relationships? Is it about harmony? I don't know. Figure that out, because that really impacts how you behave. And ask and empower your people to give you feedback. How am I doing? How am I showing up? That creates more awareness that it's absolutely vital for you to improve your impact, close that gap between your good intentions and your positive impact. Number 2. Oh, by the way, this is a much more scientific assessment. You can find whether you're high or low, how much stress you're under, how you're adapting. I call your adaptive style your dating profile, right? And your natural is your married profile, who you really are when you make that commitment. You can do team, you can really figure out how the team is showing up. And I'll tell you, I just did this with an organization here in town. This is a medical school. And they have certain challenges. Why? Because the percentage of the team are all back there, and they're all conflict avoidant. So instead of confronting the people that are challenging them, they're back channeling and gossiping. And that needs to change. On my board that I sit on, 85% of us were high extroverts, 2 of us were high dominants. We had to work on improving our bylaws. How many think high extroverts love to do that kind of detailed work? it was going to be a real problem. But we knew that, and we said, listen, this is what's going to happen. We're going to get sidetracked. So we empowered the two direct people to say, keep us on track. But we did that because we understood the makeup and the culture of the team. Which clubs we were good at and which ones we weren't. Number two, this is going to sound like some Zen yoga thing. It is not. When you're stressed and anxious, notice that you stop breathing. Literally are holding your breath. Your brain is starved for oxygen. When you are stressed, your body releases adrenaline. It releases cortisol. It releases other toxins in your bloodstream. Why? Because it doesn't want you to think. It wants you to act. Thus you become thinking impaired to save your life. The problem is that saving our lives can ruin our relationships and our positivity. And guess what oxygen does? It reacts with cortisol and adrenaline and breaks it down and gets it out of your blood system. Learn how to deeply diaphragmatically breathe. You have to make a presentation. If you don't know how to box breathe, it is powerful. It literally releases your brain so that you can begin to think. It is not some Zen technique. It is science. It is powerful at helping you create a positive impact. Now, how many of you have to make more than 3 decisions in a day? Maybe 10, maybe 100. If you are slightly stressed, it is probable that some of those decisions that you're making are not having the impact that you desire. You see, our thinking impaired brain is going to have a negative impact. When we're in control, that's the emotional intelligence I'm talking about, then our brain is in control. We're going to typically have a more positive impact, but it's always in the moment that we get to decide. That's in the present. And I'm going to give you an example of this. All this stuff I teach you, I'm not perfect at, but I've really worked hard to implement. So a couple of years ago, Jan and I were with a client. They invited us to fly to Orlando. This is a construction company. And the entire company was going to go take a cruise. And I was there to have fun on the bus from Orlando to Cape Canaveral and to do leadership training on the cruise with them. We were having workshops, we were having fun. And we get to the port, and the port authority comes on and says, we need your passports. My sweet Jana turns to me and says, I forgot my passport. Now, I'm with my wife, it's my personal relationship, and my partner, and my client. This is a dilemma, would you agree? Yeah. If I say, honey, you usually do this a lot. Too bad. You have to take care of that. I gotta go. What's the impact of that? Relationships damage, would you agree, Jesse? If I go to my client, Tim, Janet did it again. No, I forgot the passport. I can't go. He paid for us to be there. It's embarrassing. Would you agree? But instead of that, in the moment, I turned to the port authority and said, okay, what are our options? He says, well, you can get a copy of your passport, or you could get a copy of your birth certificate. And Janet turned to me, she says, you know what, I could call the Larkins and they could break in our window. I'm like, yeah. And she said, I know exactly where my passport is. And I said, okay, I can call the Office of File Statistics in Utah, and we can figure this out. Instead of shutting her down, because that's where she is, and that's where I am, my natural tendency is to shut her down. I can't believe you did this. I love her. And I want to improve my relationship. And she's like, instead, we're figuring it out. We're solving the problem. I go to Tim and say, hey, Tim, here's the situation. We've got this under control. As soon as we know what's going on, we'll just, great, we'll be on the lead deck at 5 o'clock. We had a couple hours. We solved the problem, and it turned out to be an amazing experience. That's about having a positive impact. There's going to be bad things that happen. And under pressure and under stress, I usually don't do that well. That's an example of how it can work. You and I get to match our good intentions with our good impact. How do we do that? We do that by awareness. We do that by understanding and getting feedback about how we're doing. We understand our motivators and our whys. We understand that under pressure, sometimes we're going to make mistakes. And we're going to make a great effort to create a positive environment by having 5 positives to every 1 negative interaction. Boy, that's going to be tough, isn't it? It is for me. What does this all mean? You will be emotionally hijacked and thinking impaired in the next 2 weeks, I guarantee it. If you just do one thing differently from today, one thing, to make a positive impact going forward, it will have an incredible impact on your sustainability to create value and results as a contractor, and as a business, and as a leader. Now, you can improve your emotional intelligence. If there's anybody in this room that maybe is challenged as much as I am, I doubt it. If I can improve, you can go ask her. She's been married 37 years, she'll tell you. I don't always get it right. But when I do, it makes such a difference. I'm going to give you one more bonus technique as we wrap up. One of the most powerful things that you can do in your life to create a positive impact is to improve your gratitude. To be grateful for the things that you have, for the people in your life. It improves your mood. It improves your health. It is absolutely contagious and addicting. And it's hard right now with all the challenges and stresses that we have, isn't it? I'm not talking about just going to your happy place. I'm talking about thinking about something so impactful in your life that you can't be negative, because when you think about that thing, it immediately changes your energy. I'm going to tell you mine, if that's okay. I told you about my mom. In 1984, I was 19 years old. And I was wrecked. I was crying my eyes out. Because I was getting ready to leave my mom for 1.5 years. That wasn't so bad. But I might never see her again, is what I knew. You see, a few months earlier, Mom grabbed my 2 sisters and my brother, and she sat us down, single parent. She said, I just got back from the doctor, and I have stage 4 bone cancer. I have 6 months. Now, I know many of you have cancer stories. That's not what this is about. I don't want to diminish those incredible stories that you have, but this is about how she chose to respond. She didn't choose the cancer. She had a mastectomy 10 years earlier with breast cancer. She knew what she was in for. She knew the challenges. She said, you know what? We're going to live our lives. Spencer, you're going to serve a mission. Girls, you're going to go to church, to school. Jason, and I'm going to continue teaching. She was a middle school teacher. Her students loved her. They would come over to the house. And how often do you go visit your English teacher? They did Mrs. Horn. She was in so much pain that she could just sit on the couch and correct paper. She would have to sit on a stool all day and not move. At my farewell, somebody came up and gave her a hug and broke 3 of her ribs. That's how fragile her bones were. She caught pneumonia and couldn't go back to teaching for a month. When she did her class, through a huge party. Can you see the wig? Isn't she cute? I didn't know if I'd see her again. And she's like, you're gonna go serve. That's what we always planned. That was what we're gonna do. She did everything she could to fight it. She didn't choose the cancer, but she chose to live. And I remember her as this kid from Utah going to Rome, and she was so excited because that's where she studied music. You want to hear her sing? This is just her practice. This is her practicing with her voice instructor. So Mom never complained to me. It was hard, and I would write her, Mom, it's hard. And she never complained. She said, just love the people. She said, stop worrying about yourself. Well, what happened? She lived longer than we anticipated. And I had like 3 months left in my 18 months, and Mom was still with us, and I called my dad and said, Dad, I have an opportunity to stay for 2 years. Can I stay? He goes, no, come home. Doctor says you won't live that much longer. Within 2 weeks, I got a call from my church leader in Rome saying, I need to meet you in Rome. You need to come home. I was my mother's executor. And I got special permission to come home early. I flew home on a Thursday. Didn't think she lived until the weekend. And that sticker lived 6 more months. And I am so grateful for that time that we had. I can't think of that and be angry. I'm so sorry for crying. I cry when people yell or in commercials. I'm sorry. Isn't that beautiful? And it used to bother me. And I love it today. I have a request. I have just a few more minutes. I would love, if you don't mind, if you would help me to improve what I do. This QR code gives you an opportunity to give me feedback. It also gives you an opportunity to download that survey as a PDF. If you would be so kind, I want to get better at what I do. You can give me written feedback. You can do it. It just helps me, and I would appreciate that. Plus, you get access to some of those things that I shared with you, and it makes a big difference to me. And I thank you for being willing to do that. Now, as we wrap up, I have 1 minute. Yes, Christy. I was speaking to a group in the Lake of the Ozarks this October. And I invited them to do the same thing I'm going to invite you to do, and that is to change one thing that you'd like to get better to improve your positive impact. And I'd love if you'd come up to me and tell me what that is sometime today. I'll be here through lunch. And my friend Jesse, who's absolutely amazing. But after I gave this presentation in Lake of the Ozarks, several people came up to me, and one woman came up to me, and she couldn't talk. And I could tell she was emotional, and she handed me a note. And this is what the note said. She said, you know, my mom died of cancer, and she struggled, and she didn't ever reach out to us, and we feel robbed. I have terminal cancer as well. I choose to live with the time that I have available to make a positive impact with the people that I love. And I was blown away. This is not just about task and relationship, asphalt, concrete. It's about people and the relationships that we have in our personal life, in our professional life. It is about changing lives. This is a tough business. It's hard to find people. You create an environment where people want to be. Why? Because of you. Because of the passion that you bring. Because of the energy that you bring. Because you're willing to invest in them. So they invest in you. Their time, their devotion, their energy, their belief. That starts with you. Thank you so much for letting me come and be with you today. It's been an absolute privilege. Thank you.
Can you give him another round of applause? We're going to shift quickly, so kind of the team, if you guys want to go ahead and if you're not ready. I know that's going to be tough to follow, but what I do love about, just to segue into